Oh, hello! Welcome back to my Chanel and to a day in my life. Woke up around 7 today and discovered that I'd gotten my period. Not the best way to start the day, especially since I was going to be doing a bunch of traveling, but oh well. Jumped in the shower to help my brain wake up, and then jumped right into my makeup. Lashes are a necessity, and here you can see some of my most used products. I love the SheGlam powder, and this new Love Dive primer from them has become my go-to. It makes my skin look so nice and glowy. And here's the face before. I don't know why I put my earrings on, but there they are. I made them myself, aren't they cute? I sketched out my eyeliner with some red eyeshadow since I was going to be gluing rhinestones all over my eyes. And here's most of the look, all done. I was running late as per usual, so I didn't get to film the rest of my process, but I did grab a smoothie for breakfast. Delicious. And this is my first time trying this kind of look, and I'm pretty happy with how it came out. It was a pain in the ass to place each stone, but it was worth it in the end. And my boyfriend drove us to the train station, and I was wearing sneakers because I knew we'd be doing a lot of walking today. And I had an event to go to later in the evening, so my boyfriend carried the Demonia boots that I'd be wearing, so I was very grateful for that. He carried them in his bag. And then we hopped on our first train of the day. I used my Cleaver purse, which I was very excited about because I haven't really carried it that often. I honestly forget I have it sometimes. And because I was wearing mostly rhinestones as my look, I brought two, not one, but two of my lash glue tubes with me. And this is the best lash glue of all time. It is the Kiss Strip Lash Adhesive with aloe, and it's latex free because the latex ones bug my eyeballs. And here's a little closer look at my eyes. They didn't come out 100% symmetrical, which did bug me, but better luck next time, right? I just did it for the sparkle. And then we hopped off at Secaucus and waited for our next train. It was surprisingly quiet. I've never seen it so dead in there. And then going out to our next train, which dumped us out at Penn Station. I loved all of the Wicked promo that was going on here. Such a great show. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend. And then onto the subway. I haven't taken the subway since 2019, so I was a little nervous. I've just heard so many horrible stories about how unsafe they've become, but thankfully the stations we were at seemed just fine. They were actually fairly well lit and almost clean. Shocking. They also had these big screens showing when the trains would be coming and going, as well as their destinations. I'm loving this upgrade to the subways. I wish I had this in college. And then once we were on the train, I was very much enjoying the ads there. I loved that there were Tinder ads on this train, like this one that said, realizing you're not dead inside. Hanging out in the daytime? Who does that? My boyfriend and I got a chuckle out of it because we actually met on Tinder. And then we arrived at our first stop of the day, lunch. Very important. We both love Shake Shack, and I just got my usual, which is a double smoked shack with fries. I love the cherry peppers and the bacon on this burger. So delicious. And going to Shake Shack used to be kind of ritual for me when I lived near the city because I would get a burger, fries, and a vanilla milkshake every time I went to see a concert, and sometimes I'd top that off with a Cinnabon for the ride home. But everything was delicious as always. And then we headed out to our next destination, which was the Museum of Natural History. I've never been to the museum before, so I was very excited about it. And just the building itself was gorgeous. But unfortunately, we discovered that you needed to have a time slot reserved to go in, so we had to wait. But the trees were blooming, and I just could not get over how pretty they were. And I spotted some gorgeous Gothic architecture on this building, had to take some pictures and footage of it. Then we took a stroll through Central Park. It is so pretty in there, especially compared to the rest of the city and all of its concrete and trash everywhere. We climbed some rocks, found a lovely bridge that was sadly without trolls, and admired the foliage. I love the pigeons there. They're so cute. I would totally snuggle them if I could. I just love birds in general. And I know people are going to say they're like the rats of New York City because of the diseases or whatever. They're still cute. It was just really refreshing to see all of the trees and the gorgeous flowers. Then it was time for the museum. The dinosaur skeletons in the entrance were so cool. The sheer size was impressive. And then going in, there was a really cool bug exhibit. This moth was so fuzzy. All of the animals were so amazing to see. It just felt like they were going to move any second. And they were definitely our favorite part of the museum. We looked at some of the more human exhibits briefly, but the animals were definitely the best. And they had every kind of animal you could possibly imagine from all over the world. And I also found what I think was an ancient wig. I'm not quite sure, but it was very cool to see. I was like, oh, look at that. Very cool. And then there was a fly swatter attached to what looked like a deer leg. Very metal. Here we have some ancient weapons and fishing lures and accoutrements. Very cool to see. And I love how in this exhibit they used modern shoes to go with the tribal outfits. My boyfriend pointed that out because I did not notice it first. It was very funny. I love how intricate some of these exhibits were, where you think you've seen everything just by glancing at it, but the closer you look, the more you find, especially with these bird ones. Look at these vultures. They're so cool. This owl was one of my favorites. He's so cute. Look at his little face. Oh my gosh. And then they had penguins too. I will never not think of Benedict Cumberbatch saying penguins every time I see these birds. And then we found this gentleman just lying down. Very cool. And I believe this was a recreation of the bones of a warrior found at the Great Wall of China. And of course, more fuzzy animals. But look how fuzzy this monkey is. Oh, I just wanted to hug it. And the little baby was so cute. And then they had this really cool exhibit where I think this was a caribou, and it was fighting off a bunch of wild dogs. And if you look closely down here, it actually killed one of them. So I just really love how they posed and staged all of the exhibits. These were two bull moose fighting, I believe, probably over a mate. Most fights are over a woman, right? And then there was this really interesting enlarged display of bugs, including a daddy longlegs. Ugh, not my favorite since I don't really like spiders. And then there was a mosquito. I hate mosquitoes. And then we saw more skeletons and bones and skulls. And this was arguably one of my favorite exhibits. Obviously, I love skeletons and bones and death. So this was really fun to see all the different types of skeletons from different time periods. And then these bone exhibits, I honestly wanted them for my house. This exploded view of a skull was so cool. I've never seen anything like it. And I would just love to go out and find things like this, be kind of like an archaeologist discovering things and bones. But I would love to have displays like this in my house at some point. And there was a room with gemstones, rocks, and big crystals. This was very impressive. And the stones were so, so gorgeous. Ugh. Just look at that. And then we moved on to the aquatic life. It was honestly a little overwhelming, the sheer number of specimens they had on display. I didn't know what to look at first, but that spider crab up there was pretty cool. And then this human in the scuba suit diving was really cool to show the scale of all these fish. But then the biggest, obviously, attraction in this room was the whale. The sheer size of this thing, you can kind of tell given the scale of the humans walking around behind it, but this thing was massive. And then we'd been in the museum for about 3 hours or so at this point, so we were very tired, and we sat down to rest for a bit, which did help. And then we headed down to the subway. Look how gorgeous this subway is. I've never seen a subway quite like it. And we were headed out to our next destination. I do wish that all subways could be this lovely in their decorations, but it was very cool to see the sharks and the aquatic life down here. And then we headed out to get some dinner at Applebee's, which was terrible. Don't eat at the Applebee's on 42nd Street. It's gross. And then for the main event of the night, I got invited to see Evil Dead Rise by Warner Brothers at an early screening. I was very excited about this, and I went all out for my outfit, obviously, as I do. But this is the first horror film I've gone to go see in theaters, I think, that was supposed to be on the scarier end of things. And I didn't actually find it that scary, which I was very surprised by. Here's a little show of my outfit again. But I was honestly a little nervous because I'm a very, very big baby when it comes to horror films. But I actually really enjoyed this one. It was very entertaining, don't get me wrong, but I didn't find it scary. So I'm curious if any of you have seen it. It's out in theaters now. I'm curious to hear your thoughts and if you guys found it scary. And fun fact, my boyfriend actually helped me get ready in the nearby Target on 42nd Street because I didn't want to lace up my corset before I had dinner. So had dinner, went to a nearby Target, he laced me up, and then we walked into the event. Very classy. But they gave us collector's tickets and candy that was a reference to the film, and seeing it in a big fancy theater like this was very fun. But it was a nice change to just be able to enjoy a horror film without being scared and then having nightmares when I went home. Here's a little shot of my demonias. I am very glad I did not wear them for the whole day because I only had to walk in them for about 10 minutes and I instantly got blisters. It was so frustrating because they're such pretty shoes, but they're very uncomfortable. Demonia, please make your shoes more comfortable. Thank you. And then we just headed back to the train station to head back home. And I just love how the city looks when it's lit up at night. It's very pretty with all the lights and the different buildings. I never know what this building is, but it's very, very pretty. I love all the lights and the columns on it. It reminds me a lot of like a Colosseum or something like that. It's very cool. So we were sitting in Penn Station waiting for our train, having our bloody candy from the movie. I was very, very happy to take off my demonias. I definitely changed back to my sneakers for comfort, and we just kind of chilled and sat for our train, and I took some pictures and videos of my makeup and my necklace because I hadn't really had time to do that earlier in the day. We were kind of rushing around from one place to another, and I made this bloody pearl choker myself. You can see a little tutorial for it on my Instagram and my TikTok. And then, excuse me, we took the train home. But I hope you have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.